It's a great Saturday evening, and we're happy to also have you link up with us on Talk Point on Lagos Television. My name is Omololu Rosonwo. Today on Talk Point, we shall be focusing on the NIN SIM registration and the linkage. You recall that for quite some time now, there's been extension of the NIN and SIM linkage by the federal government. But on the 31st of March, the deadline elapsed, and the federal government ordered that the lines that were not linked to the SIM and NIN registration should be taken off. So, of course, with that, the development, about 73 million lines are yet to be linked, and that is bringing a whole lot of issues. And people have also been thronging the NIMC office across the nation to ensure that their SIM cards are registered. Our focus will be on that tonight. But before we go there, let's quickly take security tips. Then we will come back. Please stay tuned. Welcome back. Well, in my earlier introduction, I actually said that about 73 million lines are yet to be connected or linked, as it were, through the NIN SIM linkage, which the federal government directed over 12 months back. And of course, you recall that that's been extension and extension and extension for over 5 times. And despite that, we still have about 73 million Nigerians yet to link the NIN with the SIM. And of course, there are various reasons why the federal government is saying this should be done. But before I introduce my guest in the studio, I'd like to quickly take this report on the update of the NIN SIM registration, where our reporter, Biola Ajayi, went out during the week to actually monitor what is happening or what actually happened during the registration. Of course, there's still rushes of people trying to see if they can register. Let's take Biola's report, then we'll come back to the studio.
Management Commission, when created, was saddled with the task of identity management for all citizens. Decades ago, collating data for national development. Recent policy of the federal government to link NIN and SIM registration cards for the same purpose met stiff opposition on commencement, yet citizens complied. The NIMC declared 125 million SIM cards were submitted for registration, while 78 million SIM cards have been registered successfully. Both the NIMC and NIN SIM registration have one target: data collation for national growth, leaving no one behind.
The thing they should have done is to link with our service providers, and the same registration that has been done with all our service providers should also be adopted. So why going to duplicate documents? If I should put so name here, and maybe as a lady I got married, my status would have changed, my name would have changed. So why don't you get the person, okay, go back to your service provider, regularize your position, and the federal government can link into that, and it will help everybody.
The card management registration law, which is a law that is basically made in accordance with the Constitution of Nigeria, as long as it doesn't derogate from the Constitution. It's a law that is supposed to be implemented, and in the course of implementing it, if it requires SIM registration, people should comply with it, so long as there's adequate notice given to everyone.
NIN SIM registration and linkage, reintroduced a couple of years ago, suffered 8 extensions, last deadline being the 31st March 2022. Noteworthy is the fact that the national identity number is customized to every individual, captured into the national identity database, include biodata, demographic info, facial pics, which will help in tracking down culprits of cybercrime. This same data has multipurpose functions for preservation, immigration, and verification purposes. Individually, citizens have always been advised to guard the info jealously. In developed countries, social identification number or social security number has its numerous benefits as well as security functions. However, the federal government's recent directive to service providers to ban unlinked SIM cards elicited mixed reactions from the citizens.
I think where the challenge is because of the cumbersome nature of going through the process of that registration, troubling yourself to stand and wait for a long time, leaving everything you are doing and just to comply with government directive. So if the government can make it less cumbersome for people to comply with, assuming there are those who have still not yet complied with it, that would be fine.
A school of thought upholds the fact that more sensitization on government policies will better inform populace on decision-making for national policies. Abiola.
Welcome back. That was a report by Biola Ajayi on the NIN SIM registration update during the week. In the studios with me, I have 2 gentlemen that will be doing justice to the discussion that we'll be having tonight. To my immediate right, I have a social affairs commentator and a member of the Lagos Community Policing committee in the person of Lukman Enito Aminu. You're welcome.
Good morning. Good evening.
Nice to have you join us.
Thank you.
Yes, to our extreme right, I have a familiar face. He's also in the telecoms industry. I have Chief Adeolu Ogubanjo. He's the chairman of the Association of Telecoms Subscribers with the acronym NATCOMS. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here. Good evening, Lagosians.
Yes, let me start with you. I want to just lay it bare so that we can have a smooth discussion. Why are we having this registration policy as directed by the federal government some 15 months or so back? What is the essence of having it?
Thank you very much. To be very precise, December 2020. It's all started. Minister Pantami said everybody must link their NIN, their SIM, to the National Identity Management Commission's database. Why? Because of security reasons.
Okay.
And here we are. Security is everyone's business, and no matter whatever we can do to secure ourselves, constitutionally too, is there in the Constitution. We need to do it. So he came up with that idea, and then we're all keen into it. But how the processes are now ongoing is now why we are here. 15 months, to my mind, is not enough to register 198 million connected lines.
Okay, Lukman, do you have a contribution to that?
Yes, if I would talk on that, I would say NIN started way back about 12, 13 years ago. There were policies made for that purpose. There were documents made. But you know the way Nigeria is. We make policies, we make laws, we don't implement them. So it took time before the call for implementation came up. And that is what my other statement has also talked about. However, when that call for implementation came up as well, we should also understand that the protection of life and properties is the primary goal of government. And in doing that, government has the right to do everything possible to get everyone protected. We will not shy away from other issues that are around it, but I think we'll discuss that further later.
Yes, okay. I haven't laid the foundation for Nigerians to know why it is necessary. Security reasons, to ensure that we know the amount of people in Nigeria for population's sake, and a whole lot of things for planning. Now that we know that, let me ask Chief Ogunbanjo. There's this problem. If you look at that report that was played earlier by our reporter Biola Ajayi, one person there spoke to the cumbersome nature of the registration. You're a telecoms operator. Could you just shed a little light on some of these things so that we can understand it?
Thank you very much. I'm a telecom subscriber, not an operator.
Okay, sorry. Yes, subscriber.
Thank you very much. For a number of people, it is so cumbersome. Imagine going to a NIN center. When you now get there, you now are told to, one, queue, and somebody now approaches you. If you want it fast, you will pay. Okay. How much? It ranges from minimum 2,000, 3, 4, 5, sometimes 10 if you want it the following day.
Are you saying that officials of NIMC, the National Identity Management Commission, engage in collecting money that is supposed to be free?
They have touts who are doing it for them, not them as a staff. Okay. They have people they engage in doing this. Fortunately, one of them, was arrested at the NIMC headquarters in Lagos, which is Ikeja, Lausa.
Yes.
One of the broadcasters, came, and then he saw money exchanging hands, He now reported, fortunately again, the security and Civil Defense Corps.
They share the same compound.
They shared the same compound. So he just quickly went there and reported to an NSCDC person, and he got arrested. But that is one story. The other story is that if you now, even now, don't want to pay anything, and you want to go through the process without paying anything, you may get it in another 6 months if you are lucky. But if you pay them, you can, if you pay 10,000, it will come out the following day. I can assure you.
So that's racketeering.
Precisely. It is so bad. And unfortunately, again, the process about 8, 9 weeks or 10 weeks ago, for 3 weeks consecutively, they couldn't upload anything to the NIMC portal. Maybe it crashed, maybe they had network issues, you couldn't. Up till now, you go to any of those centers, how many can they do in one day? Mr. Initon mentioned 12, 13 years ago. Yes, that was when they said we should register our SIM at that time. And don't forget, they engaged seven companies, one for each geopolitical zone, and they treated Lagos as a zone. Initially, they said 6 months at that time, but later it was extended up to 2, 3, 4 years, and today, here we are. So, for me, the cumbersomeness of the NIN registration is so tiring and frustrating to the Nigerian subscriber that they really need to do something about it. For instance, I don't know why they stopped having meetings with the telecom operators and internet service providers. How much have you done? There are still, as at February, there are still about 73 million connected lines that are still not linked. So what will they do? And this these SIMs majority of them are business phones. And here we are, that means their business will suffer.
Yes, we'll still come back to that. Let me come to you. Lukman, this process, have you gone through it before now? Have you done your registration? Let me first ask you that question. Have you done your registration?
Yes, thank you very much. I am a very loyal citizen when it comes to anything that has to do with Nigeria. And I would say I was one of the first persons in my own center where I did, that did within the first 1 month. Usually I like doing things like that before it becomes everybody rushing. So I've gone through the process. I have some of the challenges people are also having today.
You had it?
I have it.
Oh, you have it?
Don't let me use
if
the
you
word
say you
past
had,
tense. I have it.
You have it. That means it's still happening.
Yes, and it's not supposed to be a cumbersome process. It wasn't a cumbersome process initially, but it became a cumbersome process when government began to franchise it out. Though there were some bureaucracies when it was still managed by government, but when it was now franchised out, it became a bigger problem. A bigger problem in terms of their franchise register people, their franchise give people a NIN number. Those people want to use the NIN number for something in the bank, for JAMB, for this, for international passport, and they tell them this NIN number cannot be validated because those informations were not uploaded. Meaning that you employed an employee, you were not supervising your employee, and eventually there are some data with the employee that is supposed to be with you, but your end user is the one suffering it. So that is that on that.
So that's another inefficiency of NIMC, if you
I've
put
seen
it
the case
that
of
way.
extortion a lot, but I'm particularly concerned about one, which I will still assume to be extortion. You know, I'm using the word assume because when a lot of people have issues with their NIN, usually it's from a mistake in their date of birth, mistake in their spelling of their name. And eventually, by law, they cannot do another NIN. So they have to find a way around getting it resolved. The correction process, I know, is a very tedious one. it could take up to 6 months, and they are even expected to pay some official fines. So I don't expect someone to pay an official fine for something he is registering for and had not gone through the process completely. If he had gone through completely, I now see in the future that he had declared some false information, I can agree with fining. But there was a mistake in the registration process. I feel we should be lenient with him.
It depends on what we're looking at. I'll still come to Chief Banjo now, but let me hold on to you. See, you say the mistake could have come from possibly when the operator was imputing, or possibly from the person also being asked the question. If you are asked certain questions and you do not have the right answer, and the person imputes the wrong one that you gave to the operator, it's a two-way thing. It could be either the fault of the person registering or the operator imputing.
I would not want to completely blame either of the parties, because I would say the process has been a bit modified now. But when I did mine in those days, you will first go and fill your own online. You will now print out a slip and bring to the center. But now you don't need to do that again. You just need to go to the center straight. But in those days, even when you bring your slip to the center, they still have to type in those things again manually. So I get confused at that point. That do you mean that the information I provided cannot be generated by just a code on my slip for the guy to continue the registration? I know for us in Nigeria, there are technicalities when it comes to spelling names. If you look at my name, Lukman, I can spell 15 different Lukman for you. You will pronounce everything and it will be Lukman. So most people will just put you for me. And I have to call them, no, it's not.
It's double O.
It's double O. Some people will just put Q for me and please. So those mistakes can happen subconsciously, even while the officials are typing. But now it now becomes the fault of the end user, the owner of the card. So I just don't think we should punish that person for that purpose.
Chief, your association, how often have you been interacting with subscribers, telecom operators? Because we find out that most times when you do normal registration with the telecom operators, they get it done faster. But when it comes to something that has to do with bureaucracy or NIMC and stuff like that, it drags. Why is it so? If you want to go to the bank to collect an ATM, it's so fast. Why is it so? Why can't we change that system?
Thank you very much. Many a time, you see, the NCC will interface once in a while, being the regulator. And with the operators, of course, every now and then, because there are always issues, you know, concerning either subscribers, SIM, welcome back pack, NIN registration, the my credit, all that. However, I must also tell you that if you go to any of the telco centers, whether it is any of them, any of the four major ones, you will definitely get, as soon as you can queue and you get in, you are home and dry. You are not going to pay a dime. Nobody will collect anything from you. But right now, sir, you go there. The crowd is something else.
They are overwhelmed.
The crowd is something else. So because those are the centers, the telco centers, all of them, Glo, MTN, Airtel, and 9Mobile, all of them, they are so, I mean, they are good. No penny, you won't even, but they will tell you, please don't give any money. People at the gate will tell you. I've been at the centers for the whole of last week, particularly to the centers, then to the NIMC centers Thursday and Friday. So I must say that, give it to the telcos. For instance, for every first call you make, all the telcos will remind you about NIN.
Yeah.
But government is not doing enough. We have told them, what is National Orientation Agency doing? They should be sensitizing. Then each state government also have a duty. Most of them do have radio stations, television stations. Let them also, this is a general, a public information they should pass to whoever that's in their various states. We should please assist citizens of any of the states, Nigerian citizens, to ensure that we are educated and enlightened on these things.
You said something while you were talking earlier. You mentioned that some operators sound that the problem is always from the government agency. But when you look at it, the government agency gave a time frame. You mentioned year 2020. Now look at it from year 2020 to March 2022. That's a whole 2 years. What has been happening? And there had been not less than 5 extensions until the government now said, we will not allow that on the 31st of March, which explains why we are seeing this rush. What have Nigerians been doing before then?
Thank you very much. 15 months, December 2020, that was end of 2020, to now. So it's not up to 2 years.
Okay. Let's assume it's 15. Let's agree that it's 15 months. What have they been doing between that period and now with various extensions given to them?
Thank you very much. The first time they gave 2 weeks, then I extended it to every 3 months, 3 months, till the 5th extension, which is all right. However, there has not been enough orientation. I told you that there are, at the time we were registering SIM, about 10, 11 years back, perhaps connected lines was just slightly over 100 million. But now, close to 200, 198 point something. Now, as we speak. Why can't government understand that? Look, because the thing is slow, all government agencies start educating the masses. Then telcos, for God's sake, step up your activity on this linkage stuff. And then, of course, like I told you, every first call they are trying. But on the part of governments, they have not been enlightening people on what to do and the importance of these things. Again, capacity of NIMC should be upgraded again. By the time you now want to upload this data, it fails. Again, rural areas, there are 774 local governments. Some of these NIN centers are not in the rural areas. So perhaps at the local government headquarters, that is where you see them. I mean, the NIN centers. If I travel from my dungeon from my village to local government headquarters, and I get there, I know of somebody who had been there 3 times, and they will say no network. That can be frustrating.
Yes, in as much as I want to agree with you on some of the things you said earlier, but I also put it to you that you also said that the telecom operators, when you receive the first minute,
when
you're dialing. So is that not sufficient enough for people to get aware? Because there's no period that you won't make calls, probably once or twice in a week. That's just to the least. And when that thing rings in your ear to say, go and do your SIM registration, blah, 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 is that not enough awareness? Should the National Orientation Agency or government now come in to say, when NNCC had already directed that those telecom operators do that? I'm going to ask you, you're going to respond to that question. Let me take you on that.
Okay, yes. If I would answer what are Nigerians doing, I will group Nigerians into different categories. For some, like me, we did the linking. Just like I was telling someone today, my Airtel was bad this afternoon. I still made calls this morning, And I just realized this afternoon, he started telling me about linking. And I was like, how many times will I do the linking?
Okay.
I've been calling all through, not until this afternoon. My official line was bad, I think, on Tuesday, and I've been trying to refix it again. That's a category of Nigerians. There is a category of people who have done the linking, but eventually, years after, years down the line, they are being told that something is wrong with the registration or with the linking they've done years back, which they were not informed since they did it. There is another category of Nigerians who always have things to hide, things that you cannot hide. And those categories are the major category in which this barring was supposed to affect. People who will go and register for WAEC today and say they are 10 years, will register for JAM tomorrow and say they are 9 years, will register for voters card next tomorrow and say they are 8 years. They just hide the things that you cannot hide. Even when they go to their bank, tell them to register, you see another age. So when you now ask them, okay, bring documents together to submit for a particular purpose, there will be disparities in age. At times, you even find disparities in their names.
Okay, yes. Time is not on our side. We have just 1 minute more. Let me just quickly take Chief. Yes, 1 minute more. Yes, we might probably take it some other time if it has not subsided. Chief, what would you advise at this moment in 30 seconds?
Thank you very much. I want to say to government, now that at least they have directed the telcos to bar, they have now seen what it is to bar. Government should be magnanimous enough, give us the last 3 months extension so that we can now all link our SIM with the National Identity Management Commission portal.
Okay, yeah, Lukman.
Yes, I want to toe his line. Why I told Chief's line, I want to add that government should try to engage more stakeholders to add up to those who will join in the registration. All banks can also add up. Because if I say we should start increasing capacity of NIN by numbers, we will not get what we will get. If all banks, I can't count the number of banks in Lagos, have at least a center, all telecom service providers have at least a center, that automatically increases the number of centers we have. Then they should also be prepared on the side of government that the database will be hit regularly by multiple informations and it should be ready.
Okay, thank you. Yes, I want to thank you, gentlemen. Let me start by thanking Chief Ogumbanjo, Chief Adeolu Ogumbanjo, for being part of Talk Point tonight on Lagos Television. Thank you, sir, for coming.
Thank you very much. It's been my pleasure.
Yes, I also want to appreciate Mr. Lukman and Aminu for being part of Talk Point on today.
Thank you very much, and thank you to Nigerians who really told me what was going on behind the scene.
Yes, on that note, we've come to the end of Talk Point tonight. Remember, 767 and 112 are the lines to call in times of emergencies. Stay out of trouble, be good, and you will get better. I am Omoluro Sonwo, signing off to see you on Monday. Bye.